Aldrich was preparing for his meeting, adjusting his tie in front of the mirror, while Sienna sat quietly on the bed. It was the final meeting of their stay, and if all went well, they would return to their country by the end of the month. Sienna felt torn. 6 months in this place had created memories she cherished deeply, especially with Aldrich. The thought of leaving brought a pang of sadness, yet the desire to reunite with her father pulled her forward. She had stored every happy memory with Aldrich in her heart, determined to cherish them forever. Aldrich's soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Sia," he called, grounding her in the moment. He used her full name only when angry, but now he affectionately used Sia, a name she loved to hear from his lips. Sienna looked up as Aldrich shyly gestured toward the tie draped over his shoulder. He needed help. She smiled inwardly. He still hadn't learned how to tie one. She stood and approached him, the tie she'd bought fluttering her heart as she took it into her hands. "Don't smile like you're mocking me," he said, trying to defend himself. "I know how to wear it." She tied the knot with care, asking softly, "Then?" "It's just that today is important, and, in childhood, I always scored best when you tied my tie for exams," he said. Her heart melted. He hadn't forgotten. He still remembered their smallest shared memories. On her toes, she leaned in and gently pecked his lips. "All the best," she whispered. They were lost in each other's eyes, forgetting time until the doorbell rang. "Kiddo," a voice called from outside. It was Peter. Peter's sudden appearance surprised both. Aldrich looked at Sienna, puzzled. She shrugged, mouthing that she hadn't invited him. Peter entered cheerfully, noting Aldrich's formal attire. "Going somewhere?" he teased. "Yes, and you can go back to your place." Aldrich shot back. Peter ignored him and wrapped an arm around Sienna. "I came to meet my kiddo." Aldrich was ready to kick him out, but Sienna intervened. "Thanks for coming, Peter. At least I have someone to talk to." Aldrich gave Peter a glare, but Peter cheekily stuck out his tongue. "Take care of her like a sister," Aldrich muttered. "I'll take care of her like my kiddo," Peter replied boldly. After a few more glares and banter, Aldrich left, leaving Peter with Sienna. He excitedly pulled her to the couch and unzipped a bag. Inside was a portfolio. "I'm launching the album tomorrow, but wanted you to see it first. It'll break all the records," he exclaimed. Sienna opened it, stunned by the pictures. They looked like a couple, deeply in love. "Just pictures," she tried to dismiss. Peter wasn't fooled. "You're playing silly hate games to hide your real feelings," he said seriously. He had her place her hand on her heart and look into his eyes. She couldn't hold his gaze. "You like each other," he concluded. Flustered, she denied it. "We were acting." Peter didn't back down. "Then why do you hate him?" Sienna hesitated, then opened up. Years ago, when she was leaving for studies, Aldrich had promised to meet her first upon return. But he never came. She saw him rise to fame, even ran into him, but he acted like she didn't exist. Her heart shattered that day, and resentment grew. Peter listened gently, then asked, "Did you ever ask him why?" She hadn't. Peter, her childhood friend, reminded her of how well he knew both of them. He told her Aldrich never hated her. "Even I liked you once," he added, chuckling, "but not as much as Aldrich." Peter confessed that in every girl he dated, he looked for Sienna. Dissatisfied, he broke up with them all, but he didn't want to stand between her and Aldrich. "I just want you two to realize your love." Sienna found it hard to believe. "He only loves money," she muttered. Peter acknowledged Aldrich's flaws, grumpy, egotistic, short-tempered, but reminded her that she once accepted him with all that. "What changed?" He urged her to fight for their relationship. You're mature. You've carried responsibilities from a young age. If this relationship ends, Aldrich will be ruined. Peter's voice softened as he shared how Aldrich used to be calm and kind when she was around, but over the years without her, he had turned heartless. Sienna asked, "Why has he changed so much?" "That's for you to find out," Peter replied. She sighed and slumped on the couch, overwhelmed. Peter pouted playfully. "Don't let my sacrifice go in vain," he joked. Lightening the mood, Peter asked for Lily's number. "She seemed interesting," he admitted. Sienna giggled. "She's focusing on her career now." "Oh, my bad luck," Peter joked. "But will you talk to her for me?" She nodded just as Aldrich entered. Time had flown with Peter. Her smile faded, Peter's words echoing in her mind. Peter stood to leave. "Think about what I said. Don't disappoint me." He winked at Aldrich and exited, whistling. Aldrich watched him go, then turned to Sienna. "What was that about?" "I urgently need to use the washroom," she said, fleeing the room, because after everything Peter had said, facing Aldrich was suddenly too difficult. It was snowing heavily. Sienna sat on the balcony with a coffee mug in hand, taking in the beauty of her surroundings. She tried to capture the moment in her heart so she could cherish it forever. Aldrich appeared suddenly. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "Nothing, just holding all the memories in my heart that I've created here," she replied. "It's our last day here, and I don't know when life will give me the chance to visit again." She smiled, and Aldrich blinked at her. "Do you want to make one more memory here?" he asked, raising her brows with curiosity. "How?" she asked. "Let's play a game," he proposed. "Aldrich, we're adults now," she reminded him. "That's why we're going to play adult games," he smirked. "Adult games?" "Truth, dare, and strip," he said, grinning wider. "Truth, dare, and what?" Sienna asked, shocked. "Strip," he repeated with a grin. "Hell no, I know where this game will lead to," she said, narrowing her eyes. He laughed, throwing his head back. "So what? It's nothing new to us." "Yes, but I don't want it today." She turned away. Okay, as you wish." He sighed and sat beside her. "I just wanted to know you more." Her head snapped toward him. Why did he want to know her? "It's almost been 8 months since our marriage, and we still don't know each other. Likes, dislikes, etc." he explained. Why was he so curious? They weren't meant to be together forever. Even though she often thought about leaving him after 4 months, her heart ached at the thought, but it was bound to happen. "Okay," she agreed. "So, let's start with the rules," Aldrich began. "We'll ask each other questions and must answer honestly. If someone can't answer, they must do the dare." She nodded. It sounded fair. "Let's start with you," he said. Caught off guard, Sienna thought for a moment before asking, "What is your biggest fear?" He rubbed his palms and rested his chin on them. Looking straight into her eyes, he replied, "Losing my most precious thing." She held her breath. Was he talking about her? No, his most precious thing was money. He wouldn't want to lose even a penny. "Now it's your turn," she smiled. Aldrich smirked, pleased. When Aldrich got his turn, he asked the question that had been budding in his mind for a month. "What is your type?" Sienna's brows knitted. "My skin type or my hair type?" He laughed, but she didn't join. She only looked at him with those innocent eyes. "No, my lamb," he clarified gently. "I mean, what do you want in your partner?" Realization softened her expression. "Be honest. Remember, it's truth or dare," he reminded her. He felt at an advantage. If she failed to answer, he'd give her a dare that would make him happy. "My type," she repeated, sipping her coffee. "But why do you want to know about my type?" she asked. Why couldn't she answer directly? "Because in 4 months, This marriage ends. After that, you'll need to find someone. If I know what kind of man you want, maybe I can help." Sadness passed through her eyes, though she looked down to hide it. Why was she sad? Didn't she want the marriage to end soon? "I want a man with a heart," she said. "Not just one that pumps blood, but a heart full of sympathy, kindness, care, and love." She paused. Aldrich reflected. His heart only knew how to pump blood. "I want him to be rich," she smiled, "but rich by heart." The smile faded. "I want a man who prioritizes me, who would leave everything for me." Number Aldrich couldn't leave his money for anyone, not even her. "And what about looks?" he asked. She chuckled. "Yes, looks are important, but they're not everything, you know." He smiled, then frowned as her words hit him. "I want him to be a little humorous, to make me smile when I'm sad. Funky, too. Someone who'll do crazy things in public to lift my mood." She smiled, and Aldrich felt a sting. Peter had been right. He wasn't her type. "And I'd love if he's a little possessive," she added playfully. She had at least said one thing he wanted to hear. "Won't you ask my type?" he asked. "No," she shrugged. "Why?" "Because I know it. You like rich, high-profile girls like Delia," she said. He stayed silent. She was right. For the world, Delia was his type. "Now it's my turn again," she said, reminding him of the game. He nodded. "Except money," she asked. "Tell me one thing or person you'll never want to lose." He just stared into her eyes. "My love," he said. He forgot to mention Delia. "Nice. Your turn," she said dryly. "Will you marry someone else after this contract ends?" he asked. "I don't think so," she replied with a tight-lipped smile. "Why?" "You can ask only one question at a time," she countered. "Smart, huh?" "Yup. My turn now," she said. The perfect question came to mind. "Why did you break your promise?" His brows furrowed. "Why didn't you come to meet me when you landed in Los Angeles?" He gulped. Pain and helplessness were in his eyes. His lips didn't cooperate. "I would like to do the dare," he whispered. That broke her. His reluctance said it all. There was something in his heart he still wasn't ready to share. She thought about the dare, and her eyes caught her heels. A naughty idea struck. "Are you sure you want to do the dare?" she asked. "Yes," he said confidently. "Okay, come with me." She slipped into her heels, wrapped herself in a shawl, and stepped outside. He followed, confused. "Where are you going?" he asked, pulling her back. "It's snowing. You'll fall ill." "I'm fine, Aldrich. It's our last day. Please, I want it to be memorable." She walked to the backyard and called him out. "Your dare is to—" She removed her heels. "Wear these and—" She draped the shawl around his neck. "Do a ramp walk." "What?" His jaw dropped. "You said you wouldn't back down. Now do it," she said firmly. "Okay, it's a dare. I'll do it." He struggled into her tiny heels and took a step. His foot twisted, but he balanced himself. She chuckled, standing a few steps away. She watched. "How do you walk in these?" he asked. "Superpowers," she said with a grin. "Now showtime." He mocked her, then dramatically posed, batting his lashes and strutting carefully. Oh my God, he was trying so hard to walk with grace like a girl. She burst into laughter. He lost balance and fell, right on his bum. She couldn't stop laughing, not noticing the snowball that landed on her face. A bit of snow went into her mouth. Now Aldrich was laughing at her. He was rolling on the floor. She vowed revenge. She made a big snowball and hit his face. He froze. Then she giggled harder. "You little thing!" He tried to get up but fell again. She teased him and ran off, tossing his shoes. He chased her, throwing snowballs. She ran in circles until her stomach hurt from laughter. Her feet ached. She fell, and Aldrich fell on top of her, crushing her. He leaned on his elbows, trapping her legs. "No, you might fall ill," he said, then dropped the snowball. Instead, he slid his cold hands under her jacket and started tickling. "Oh, my God," she gasped, laughing uncontrollably. "No, this is torture." But he didn't stop. "Stop or I'll die! I can't breathe!" she screamed. He finally stopped. She gasped for air, inhaling deeply. Just as her breath calmed, he attacked again like an animal. Her pleas to stop fell on deaf ears. After the successful completion of Aldrich's project, he and Sienna returned to their country. Instead of heading back to the mansion, Aldrich chose to stay in his penthouse, perhaps seeking privacy. As they approached the car, Sienna turned to him. Aldrich." "Yeah," he replied without lifting his gaze from his phone, waiting for her to get in. "I want to meet my father first. So, I'll drop you there," he said, locking his phone. "It's okay, I can go by myself. I'll be back by evening." "Sit," was all he said, and she complied without arguing. Later, after dropping her off, Aldrich instructed the driver to head to his penthouse. He didn't want to return to the mansion where his parents stayed. Though he had been staying there to care for his father, the situation had changed now. On his way, his phone rang. He ignored the first call from his mother, but when it rang again, this time from his father, he answered. "Yeah, Dad." "Where are you? How long until you're home?" "Oh, please, Dad. You missed the time when you should have cared. Now stop pretending. I'm staying at the penthouse until that lady is no longer with you." "That lady?" "She's your mother," his father reminded him. Aldrich sighed. "Come home right now. She's waited 7 months for your return. Is this how you treat her?" Frustrated, Aldrich hung up. Memories of the last 7 months, months filled only with Sienna's comforting presence, flooded his mind. With a heavy heart, he asked the driver to take him to the mansion. Upon arrival, his parents were having evening tea. His father gestured for him to join. A servant poured him tea. "Where's Sia?" his father asked. "With her father." "I'm glad she's not here. I finally get to talk to my son," his mother said icily. "As if you ever did before she came into my life," he retorted. She scolded him for defending a downtrodden girl, expressing concern over how much Sienna was changing him. "Yes, she's changing me," Aldrich admitted. "She's bringing out parts of me I didn't know existed." His father smiled, but his mother looked displeased. "I'm not done talking," she said firmly as Aldrich tried to leave. "Where are you going?" "You lost your right to ask me anything," he responded. She approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I'm your mother." "Do you even know what that means? Mothers comfort their children. You became a nightmare." She froze. "I wanted to," she began. "What you've done is enough," he said. "I've grown without you. I can live my life now, with my sigh. Without you." "With your what?" she asked. "I don't owe you an answer. I'm getting late." As he turned to leave, she blocked his path. "You're walking the same path again," she warned. "This contract marriage ends in 4 months. After that, I don't want that girl in your life." Her eyes carried a threat. "I should have ended this years ago. I won't hesitate now." His chest tightened. "If anyone even tries to harm her, I'll rip them apart, even if that person is you." She was stunned. He had never spoken to her like that, but he was no longer the scared boy she could control. Meanwhile, Sienna, after spending time with her father and friend Lily, received a call from Aldrich. "Where are you?" he asked, sounding drunk. "At Lily's." "I knew it. My driver is on his way. Get back now." Sienna was puzzled. He had seemed fine earlier. "What's wrong?" Lily asked. "I have to go. Aldrich needs me." She left quickly, confused by the sudden shift in his mood. In the car, she asked the driver, "Do you know what happened to Aldrich?" "He got a call on the way to the penthouse and suddenly ordered me to go to the mansion. After returning, he looked furious." Soon they arrived at the penthouse. She went to the top floor and found the door open. Inside, Aldrich sat on the couch, scotch in hand, 2 empty bottles nearby. His eyes were red, shirt half open, sleeves rolled, hair a mess. "Aldrich," she whispered. He looked up and seemed relieved to see her, though his eyes held deep fear and sadness. She approached slowly. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. He didn't respond, just looked away. "Go to the room," he murmured, not as a command, but like a plea. "And you?" "I'll be here all night." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "What happened?" "I don't want to hurt you, Sia. Go away," he said more forcefully. "I won't." She took the glass from him and set it down. "You've had enough. Come with me." He didn't move. "Why are you so stubborn?" he asked. "I learned from the best," she said with a faint smile. He sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Still unwilling to budge, she sat on his lap. "What happened, Aldrich?" she asked, brushing his lower lip with her thumb. Her heart broke seeing him like that. "Do you want anything?" she asked, cupping his cheeks. He shook his head. "Do you want me?" she asked softly. He stared into her eyes, tears welling up. She felt her own eyes water. He was in pain, so much pain, and couldn't share it. Leaning in, he kissed her softly, once. Then he pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Let me just hold you like this," he whispered. She melted into him, wrapping her arms around his. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. He closed his eyes, breath and heartbeat calming with every stroke of her thumb. And in that quiet embrace, they sat for hours, wrapped in each other's warmth, saying nothing more, needing nothing else. Since returning from Spain, Sienna and Aldrich had not visited Aldrich's parents. It was Aldrich's father's birthday, and he had wanted to have dinner with the family. Aldrich had initially refused, but Sienna somehow managed to convince him. Dinner was quiet. The only sounds were those of cutlery clinking against plates. Aldrich's father attempted to break the silence by asking about their trip to Spain. Aldrich responded with short, factual answers, while Sienna occasionally added a word or two. Aldrich's mother, however, ate in complete silence, her lips and utensils never making a sound. Sienna sensed that Aldrich's mother wasn't pleased with her presence. From the very beginning, she had felt an unspoken dislike from her, though she couldn't understand why. Nevertheless, out of respect, something her own mother had instilled in her, Sienna tried to engage her by passing food and offering polite gestures, but Aldrich's mother ignored her, treating her as though she were invisible. Eventually, Sienna gave up, not wanting to compromise her self-respect. After dinner, Aldrich's father insisted they spend the night at the mansion, as the rain had intensified outside. Convincing Aldrich to stay was another uphill battle, but Sienna succeeded. Later, while Aldrich was in the bathroom, Sienna waited in bed, hoping to cuddle and fall asleep beside him. Only 3 months were left in their contract marriage, yet he had become a habit, someone she couldn't imagine life without. Even his harshness was something she had grown used to. When his phone pinged, curiosity overtook her better judgment. She picked it up and read a message. "I am missing you, Lion. It's been 9 months since we last met. Today I need you. Please come over to my place. I need to share something really important with you. I hope you won't disappoint me. Your Del." Delia. As she was processing the message, the bathroom door creaked open. She panicked and placed the phone on the side table. Aldrich asked what was wrong. Sienna denied anything, but he noticed the change in her expression. Trying to hide her thoughts, she commented on the rain, forcing a smile. Aldrich playfully offered to warm her up, but Sienna, exhausted and emotionally drained, simply told him she was tired and pulled the duvet over her legs. He nodded and disappeared into the closet. When he emerged, he answered a call. His face morphed through confusion, anger, and finally a stiff resolve. He tucked the phone into his pocket and headed for the exit. Sienna rushed behind him and grabbed his arm. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Delia," he replied. Sienna was speechless. He cupped her cheeks and assured her, "I promise I'll return in an hour." She hesitated. "But, do you trust me?" he asked. Despite everything she knew about his past, her head nodded yes. He kissed her forehead and left, not even hearing her whisper, "It's raining heavily." Sienna couldn't sleep. As soon as Aldrich left, unease settled in her chest. She wandered around the room, stared out the window, and tried to pass the time. After an hour of waiting, she lay down but tossed and turned restlessly. 2 hours passed, and still no sign of Aldrich. Worry intensified. She called him repeatedly. No answer. Eventually, the phone was switched off. Panic began to cloud her thoughts. The storm outside raged on, mirroring the storm within her. Another hour passed. She paced, browsed the internet, stared out the window. Finally, unable to bear it, she knocked on Aldrich's parents' bedroom door at 2 a.m. His mother opened it, her eyes brimming with disdain. "Don't you have manners? Disturbing a couple at midnight? Did your mother teach you that?" Sienna bit back her feelings, not wanting to argue. Aldrich's father soon appeared, half asleep. "What happened, Sia? Is everything fine?" Sienna stammered. "Al Aldrich." At the mention of his name, the father became alert. Aldrich's mother sneered. "If you've done anything to my son, I swear." Sienna quickly explained. "He got a call from Delia 3 hours ago. He said he'd return in an hour, but he hasn't. His phone is switched off now." His mother spat cruelly. "Thank God he's in good hands. He must be tired of you. His girlfriend is better than you in every way. Now I can sleep peacefully." Without acknowledging her wife's words, Aldrich's father stepped out and told Sienna to return to her room. He joined her 20 minutes later. "There's nothing to worry about. He's still at her house. I asked the driver to bring him home safely. Once the weather clears," Sienna sank into the bed, relief washing over her. "I'm sorry for my son," the father said gently. "I thought marrying you to him would help him change. I would never have done it if I knew." "I know, Dad," Sienna interrupted. "I know about his past and his relationship." "You do?" She nodded. "I was just so worried. He wasn't answering calls, and the weather kept getting worse." "There's no need to hide your emotions from me, Sia," he said, placing a hand on her head. "That was me who took you in my arms first." He paused and added with a chuckle, "Okay, Aldrich is an exception." Aldrich had indeed been the first to hold her. Her mother had gone into labor while her father was in jail. Aldrich and his dad had taken her to the hospital. Her mother often shared how Aldrich had cried and demanded to be the first to hold her. The nurse eventually complied, placing the newborn Sienna in his lap. To everyone's surprise, she had stopped crying the moment she was in his embrace. "You've stayed with me for 10 years. I know your bond with Aldrich. I tied him to you after thinking carefully," he said. He admitted that he and Bella had failed as parents. So caught up in making money, they had neglected their only son. Aldrich had found peace only in Sienna's presence. That's why he'd believed marriage to her would make Aldrich happy. "I know how much it hurts to see your partner going to someone else," he added, with a gentle squeeze of her shoulder. "I'm fine, Dad. Sorry to disturb you. Aldrich's mother must be waiting for you." "She doesn't care about anyone. She must be in deep sleep." He chuckled again, sadness behind his voice. Sienna hesitated, then asked the question that had long weighed on her heart. "Dad, why does Aldrich's mother hate me? I've never done anything to her. I've barely even met her." He took her hand in his. "It's not your fault, child. The reason is your mother." Sienna froze. "My mother?" He nodded solemnly. Sienna sat in silence, absorbing the words spoken to her. The older man before her gently said, "It is not your fault, child. The reason is your mother." His statement left Sienna stunned. "My mother?" she asked, her voice filled with confusion. He nodded slowly. He explained that Sienna's mother and his wife had studied at the same university. The only difference was that while his wife paid a huge sum in fees, Sienna's mother was a scholarship student, brilliant in every aspect: appearance, intellect, and personality. His wife had always been jealous of Sienna's mother, a resentment that started during their university days and continued into adulthood, festering quietly until it exploded during Sienna's parents' marriage. He confessed that in his youth he was much like Aldrich, chasing wealth above all. He married Bella, a successful woman running her family's business, because her brother was mentally challenged. At the time, it seemed like the best decision, but he came to see it as the greatest mistake of his life. Bella never gave him the love or time he desired. The only good that came out of their marriage was Aldrich. He went on to explain that Aldrich was on the same path, falling for Delia, a woman with money but little substance, much like Isabella. He had tried to steer Aldrich away, knowing the pain that kind of marriage brought. Frederick, Sienna's father, had once been his best friend. Though he had wealth and status, one business mistake cost him dearly. In his recovery, he partnered with Frederick to build a startup. Sienna's mother, being intelligent and resourceful, was active in brainstorming sessions, and the man found himself visiting their home frequently. Bella grew suspicious and accused him of having an affair with Sienna's mother. Despite her constant fighting, he didn't back down. He was focused on making the business succeed. One night, after receiving news of both a major project win and Sienna's mother's pregnancy, he and Frederick were driving home while he was heavily intoxicated. Against Frederick's wishes, he insisted on driving, eventually attacking the steering wheel in frustration. The distraction caused a tragic accident where a young boy was killed on the spot. He revealed to Sienna that this was the reason her father went to jail. Her mother had shielded the truth from her, always saying he had gone away temporarily. When her father was imprisoned, the man spiraled into depression. Racked with guilt, he took care of Sienna's pregnant mother, who had no one else in the city. Though Bella protested, he chose to keep Sienna's mother in his home, even when Bella gave an ultimatum: either she stays or Sienna's mother does. He chose Sienna's mother. He turned to Sienna and asked if she knew why. She stayed silent, waiting. He explained that it wasn't because he was in love with her mother, but because he was consumed by guilt. He had destroyed her family, separated a loving couple, and robbed a father of the chance to hold his child. Taking care of Sienna's mother was his way of atoning, a desperate attempt to forgive himself. He continued, revealing that Bella had left, though he lied and said she had gone abroad for business. Secretly, she had gone to live with her boyfriend. She didn't take Aldrich with her because she had never cared about him or her husband. Eventually, Bella returned after Frederick was released from jail, and Sienna and her father left the house. The man confessed that the empire he built was based on Frederick's ideas. He had married Sienna to Aldrich, hoping she would guide his troubled son, and as a way to repay his old friend. But Aldrich hadn't changed. He continued to engage in affairs. Choking back emotion, he apologized sincerely, his eyes misty. Sienna forgave him, believing the events were destined to happen. She added that Aldrich had been trying to change. He hadn't seen Delia for 9 months, until that night when he suddenly left after receiving a call from her. She shared this with the man, who gently placed his hand on her shoulder and asked, "Do you love Aldrich?" Sienna paused. She cared for him. She wanted him to be happy and at peace. But did she love him? "I don't know," she answered truthfully. "You do," he said kindly, stroking her head. "I see it in your eyes. You just need to realize it." His words reminded Sienna of Peter, who had told her the same thing. Just as she was about to respond, Aldrich's voice rang out. They rushed to find him barely able to stand, leaning on the driver for support. He was heavily drunk, his eyes half open, looking drugged. They helped him to bed, where he collapsed immediately. Sienna proposed calling a doctor, but Aldrich managed to whisper, "No, I am fine. Just let me rest." Respecting his wish, his father and the driver left. Sienna stayed beside him. She helped him vomit, cleaned him up, and brought him back to bed. As she was tending to him, he suddenly yelled, "No!" and collapsed again, twisting, groaning, unable to sleep. Eventually, he flipped over, looked at her, and, surprisingly, rested his head on her lap. He had never done that before. He looked scared, fragile, and stressed. She gently caressed his head until he finally fell asleep. Watching him, she thought to herself, something is actually wrong with him. Sienna stirred awake at the sound of a gentle knock on the door. She was still seated cross-legged, Aldrich's head resting quietly on her lap. He hadn't stirred. Her fingers softly traced the lines of his face as she whispered his name, but he didn't respond. A second knock snapped her attention. With care, she shifted, placing Aldrich's head on a pillow and adjusted her clothes before heading to the door. Outside stood her father and a doctor. "How is he?" her father asked, the concern evident in his eyes. "He is still sleeping," Sienna replied, her voice raspy. Nodding, her father stepped aside for the doctor, who entered, checked Aldrich, and administered an injection. "There is nothing to worry about," the doctor assured them. "He will wake up in a few hours." Just as the doctor stepped out, Aldrich's mother stormed into the room, looking ready to head somewhere else. "What happened to my son?" she cried dramatically as she sat beside Aldrich, fake tears glistening in her eyes. Without warning, she stood and glared at Sienna. "You are responsible for my son's condition. Only you!" she began shouting, catching Sienna off guard. "I haven't done anything," Sienna replied, brows furrowing. "You're just like your mother, aren't you?" the woman spat venomously. "Always using your innocent face to trap people in your web." "Look, ma'am," Sienna retorted firmly, "I've never said anything out of respect for you being my husband's mother. But if you bring my mother into this, I won't stay quiet." "You dare talk back to me?" Aldrich's mother screeched, pushing Sienna, who nearly fell but managed to stay upright. Aldrich groaned softly in pain, pulling Sienna's attention back to him, but the woman wouldn't stop, clearly more focused on drama than her son's well-being. "Do not forget where you belong," she hissed, preparing to shove Sienna again when Sienna's father grabbed her arm. "Bella leaves this room right now," he ordered. She ignored him. "Get out!" he roared, his voice booming louder than Aldrich's ever had. "Leave before I show you your place and push you out of this house." With one last poisonous glare at Sienna, Bella finally stormed out. "I am so—" her father started to say, but was interrupted by another groan from Aldrich. "It's okay, Dad. I'm fine. Let's not talk about this now. Aldrich needs us more," Sienna said. Understanding, he nodded and left the room, leaving her alone with Aldrich. "Water," Aldrich whispered. After drinking, he dozed off again while Sienna remained quietly by his side. After brunch and a shower, Sienna decided to read. She wandered into the library, but paused when she spotted a familiar door slightly open. As she peeked inside, she realized it was Aldrich's childhood room. Curiosity overtook her. The room remained untouched. Food stains, scribbles, old photos of bikes still decorated the walls. She smiled, reminiscing about how obsessed he used to be with sports bikes. Her eyes landed on a photo album on the study table. Sitting on the bed, she flipped it open. Every single page had her photo, laughing, dancing, even swinging, sometimes with Aldrich. He had preserved every memory with care. She chuckled at a Halloween photo, a day they planned to dress like circus clowns. Aldrich later changed plans and told her they'd be superheroes, saying he'd tell Peter. But he never did. Poor Peter showed up as a clown and became the laughingstock. Aldrich didn't seem to regret it, and Peter had stayed mad, thinking Sienna was in on it too. There were few photos of Peter. Most were torn or cut where Peter stood beside Sienna. She guessed Aldrich had removed them. Another photo showed Sienna and Peter swinging while Aldrich glared at Peter. Thankfully, Peter's head hadn't been cut out, probably because Sienna's was in the same spot. She closed the album, feeling light from revisiting their past, but then her eyes caught a cupboard slightly ajar. Inside were all the gifts she had ever given Aldrich, untouched and pristine. He hadn't used a single one. Strange, on a rack nearby was a stuffed toy, one she recognized. She opened the rack and found more toys, all of them hers. Another rack was the same. What were they doing here? Aldrich had always claimed he gave her toys to poor children. Ahem, ahem! Startled, she spun around to face Aldrich. She quickly hid the toy behind her, heart pounding. What do you think you're doing here? He asked, voice low and husky, stepping closer. He looked fresh, and with only 3 steps closed the space between them. His eyes bored into hers. Sienna clutched the toy to cover her nerves. His eyes dropped to her lips. Then his tongue traced his own. Her breath caught as he raised an eyebrow, waiting. Just as she parted her lips, his landed on hers. Don't distract me by seducing me. Just answer my question, and that too in words, he murmured against her lips. She blinked, heart racing. What was the question again? What are you doing here? She deflected. You're forgetting this is my house, he said, arms caging her. And this is my room. I can come whenever I want. She gulped. He was right. I was just passing by and saw the door open. So instead of closing the door and minding your business, you invaded my privacy and touched my things without permission? That stung. She thought being his wife meant she could touch his things. Tears welled up, but she looked down to hide them. Sorry, she mumbled, backing away, but he gently pushed her toward the cupboard. Lifting her chin, he looked into her eyes. They were soft, filled with warmth. He kissed her eyelids. What did these eyes see? He asked softly. Everything, she whispered. Everything, she nodded. And what did your mind conclude from it? That you're very possessive and protective of your things. He laughed. Indeed. Then his demeanor shifted. Wrapping his arm around her, he pulled out a stuffed lamb. Do you remember this? Oh yes, I cried a whole night for this. He nodded. It was my only companion at night. I found it hard to sleep without it. She remembered it clearly. As a child, she had thrown a fit seeing it in his room. Her mother tried to console her with other toys, but she wanted only that one. The next day, Aldrich himself gave it to her, his favorite toy. It shocked her, but from then he started calling her Lamb. That was the day she became his little lamb. But why? You said you'd give these toys to poor kids, but you didn't, she asked curiously. He sat on the bed, pulled her into his lap. I don't know, he said. I used to hide your old toys so no one else could touch them. I kept them locked away. Even when I left for studies, I told the staff not to touch anything. Why? He looked at her. Maybe because they were related to you. I was crazy for you as a child. I didn't want anyone else to touch what you had once cherished." A silence fell between them. Sienna decided to break it. "Where were you last night? What happened?" "I don't want to talk about it. Please." The plea shattered her heart. She didn't push further. Instead, he began showing her more toys, steering the moment away, and she let him. It had been 1 month since the incident when Aldrich came back drunk from Delia's house. From that day onward, he became extremely protective of Sienna. He accompanied her everywhere, even when she went to visit her dad. It was 8:17 p.m. when Peter arrived at the office and insisted they have dinner with him. It was a struggle to get Aldrich to agree, as he believed leaving work for socializing was a waste of time. As the three walked out, Sienna suddenly stopped and smiled shyly. "Wait a minute," she said. "I think I forgot my phone at the cafe." Both men turned to look at her. "I'll be back in a minute," she added, taking a step back. "I will accompany you," Aldrich offered. "No, it's okay. I'm fine. I will take only 1 minute," she said, and ran back to the cafe. She returned with her phone, her heart pounding in her chest. She had already lost it once and couldn't afford to do so again. When she stepped outside, she saw Peter and Aldrich waiting across the road. As usual, Aldrich looked impatient. She looked left, then right, and then left again before stepping forward. Just as she reached the middle of the road, Aldrich shouted her name in panic. She looked up and saw his terrified face and turned her head to the left, just in time to see a speeding car coming straight at her. Her body froze. Her brain stopped functioning. It felt like someone had tied her in place. She wanted to run, to scream, but nothing happened. She stood motionless, paralyzed by fear. The car approached rapidly, yet everything felt like it was moving in slow motion. Then she felt a strong push, a hard, sudden shove that sent her crashing to the ground. A heavy weight landed on top of her. Her head smacked the pavement and everything turned dizzy and numb. All she could feel was pain. Was she dead? Suddenly, the weight lifted. She opened her eyes slowly, realizing she was still alive. "Are you fine?" Peter's voice reached her ears. Looking in his direction, she saw him hovering above her. She was lying on the street, and he stood protectively over her. She nodded weakly. "Thank you, Savior." He helped her up gently and walked her across the road to where Aldrich stood. Aldrich appeared hollow, his eyes vacant, as if he was staring into nothingness. He looked completely lost. "Aldrich!" Peter called out. No response. Peter shook him. "Aldrich!" he said again, trying to bring him back. Finally, Aldrich blinked several times, looked at Sienna from head to toe, and then turned on his heels, got into his car, and drove away. Shock didn't even begin to explain how Sienna felt. The man who hadn't left her alone for a second in weeks had just walked away when she needed him the most. Peter asked what was going on. "I don't know," she said truthfully. "Ever since we got back from Spain, he's been acting really weird." Peter nodded. "Come with me. You need medical care first." He helped her into the car and took her to the clinic. She had several cuts, and her elbow was bleeding. After her wounds were cleaned and bandaged, and she was given medicine for the pain, Peter dropped her back at the penthouse. The house was eerily quiet, silent enough to hurt her ears. She walked silently to their room. Aldrich was sitting on the bed, staring blankly, not even acknowledging her. She walked up to him and softly called his name, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. He looked up, then down at her hand, and swatted it away as though he had been shocked. He stood up immediately. "Stay away from me!" he yelled. "Do not come near me! I can't protect you!" he blurted, stepping back. "What are you saying, Aldrich? It wasn't your fault. It was just an accident," she said, moving toward him. "I said stay away!" he yelled again, and picked up a wooden vase from the side table. He threw it to the floor. It shattered near her feet, almost hitting her, but she jumped back just in time. She looked up and saw the rage, pain, and helplessness in his eyes. "Okay, I won't come near you. Just calm down. Please," she pleaded. He gave her one last look before storming out of the room, slamming the door behind him. She stood frozen, deciding not to chase after him. Maybe he needed space. Maybe she needed it too. After all, this was just a contract marriage set to end in 2 months. Eventually, she would have to leave him anyway. So why not start now? That night, Aldrich had a nightmare. In his dream, Sienna was tied to a chair, surrounded by fire. She was crying out his name, trying to free herself, tears streaming down her cheeks. The flames crept closer. "Richie!" she screamed. He tried to run to her, but something held him back. He couldn't move. The fire began burning the wooden chair. Her cries became louder as the heat started to sear her skin. "SIA!" he screamed as her clothes caught fire. He tried to move, to save her, but he was paralyzed. Sienna was stirred from sleep by the sound of her name. Aldrich was calling out to her. Her feet moved on their own toward the living room, where she found him on the couch, eyes tightly shut, fists clenched, forehead soaked in sweat. He tossed and turned, locked in a nightmare. "Sia," he murmured again. "I'm here, Aldrich," she said, sitting beside him and holding his hand. His palm was burning hot. She touched his forehead. He had a high fever. "Sia!" "Aldrich, wake up! It's just a dream," she said, shaking him. But he refused to open his eyes. He squirmed and clenched tighter. "Richie!" she shouted, shaking him harder. Finally, he relaxed. His body loosened, his eyelashes fluttered, and he blinked at her face. He looked confused at first, but then pulled her into a crushing hug, realizing it had all been a dream. His heavy breath fanned her neck. His heart thundered against her chest. He was scared. "Are you fine?" he asked, his eyes wet with emotion. "I'm fine. It was just an accident," she said. He kept shaking his head. "No, it wasn't an accident." Sienna chose to let the subject go for now. His hands were trembling. His body was burning with fever. She helped him lie back down and stood up, but he gripped her wrist. "Where are you going?" he asked, scared. "Just for a minute. I'll be back." She rushed to the kitchen and returned with ice water, a cloth, and some medicine. He was staring in the direction of the kitchen the whole time, as though afraid that looking away might cause her to disappear. She soaked the cloth and placed it on his forehead. The warmth returned quickly, so she dipped it again. "I think we should call the doctor," she said, but he pulled her to sit beside him. "Just stay with me. No medicine can cure me like your presence can." She was stunned. Looking into his eyes, she could see he meant every word. "At least take this tablet," she said softly. He nodded and took it without protest. She told him to rest. "No," he said, settling onto the couch and wrapping his arms around her waist, pulling her toward him. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to hold you, please," he whispered, looking like a lost puppy. She frowned. Ever since they returned from Spain, Aldrich had been acting different. He didn't play his favorite games or enjoy his usual habits. He just wanted to hold her, to sit close. She loved being in his embrace. It brought her peace. But this wasn't like the Aldrich she knew. Or maybe this was the real Aldrich. He pulled her onto his lap. She sat on his thigh as he gently sniffed her hair. She pulled away, making him sit back. Even in a fever, all he could think of was being close to her. He gripped her palms tightly with his shaking hands. "Aldrich," he hummed. "What was that nightmare? Why were you screaming my name? Why are you so anxious?" she asked. She wasn't going to back off this time. "I don't want to." "You have to," she interrupted. Our wedding will end in 3 months. You've never shared anything with me. But before I was your wife, I was your friend. We used to share every little thing. What happened to the boy I knew for 14 years? He stayed quiet. Don't bring social status into this. I know you don't care about my class or wealth. Still, silence. I want to know what's bothering you. The thing you've never told anyone. What happened to you? Why did you forget me? Forget your little lamb? She asked, cupping his cheeks. Please, Richie. He stayed silent, absorbing her words. Will you judge me? He asked quietly. I promise I won't. I never forgot you. You were in my thoughts every minute, every second. I was just running away, he said, his voice trembling. Why? Because I had a fear, he whispered. What fear? The fear of losing you. Forever. Richie never forgot Sienna. In fact, she was in his thoughts every minute, every second. I was just running away from you, he admitted with a gulp. Why? Sienna asked. Because I had a fear, he said huskily. Which fear? Fear of losing you. Forever. Sienna left his lap and sat in front of him. Richie tented his finger under his chin and looked into oblivion while explaining the reason for his pain. You know, my mother was never there for me when you and your mother used to stay with us. She nodded. She had some grudges with your mother which I don't even know. So the day your dad came out of jail and you left our house, my mother returned. When she came to know about the bond that I used to share with you, she got enraged. She asked me to end the friendship with you, but I was so attached to you that I was not in a position to even think about living without you, because you were the only reason for my happiness, he said, smiling a little. She used every trick to keep me away from you, but I never listened to her. In fact, I was attached to your mother instead of mine, because my mother was never there when I needed her the most. I kept on meeting, playing, and studying with you despite the scolding that I used to receive from my mother afterward. He sighed. Then one day, after getting fed up with all this, my mother decided to send me abroad for further studies. She didn't even ask me if I was ready to leave the house. She just enrolled me in the school and booked my tickets without informing anyone, not even Dad. His eyes became a little moist. He was still looking at the front wall with blank eyes, as if he was reliving those painful days. When I came to know about this, I cried the whole night and argued with my mother, but nothing worked. I even asked Dad for help as he was the only one who used to think about me a little bit after his business. But my mother said that when she was leaving the house, it was my dad who kept me with him. So now it is her right to decide about my future. And my dad also took his steps back by saying that whatever my mother is doing, she is doing for my good. He exhaled a sharp breath. As I was left with no option, I locked myself in my room. I didn't want to come out. I was crying a lot. So for my sake, my mother convinced Peter's parents to enroll him in the same school. But that was not what I wanted. I was still adamant about not leaving my house, and kept on meeting you. His gaze moved to Sienna. His eyes held helplessness. Then my mother used you as her last weapon to force me to go abroad for study. She told me that if I didn't do what she said, then she would hurt you. Sienna's breath hitched in her throat. How could a mother threaten a kid? And how could she even think about hurting her? She was also a kid. You remember one day while returning from school, you fell from the school bus and you were injured very badly? He asked. She tried to rewind those days, but couldn't remember the incident properly, so she shook her head in denial. But I do, as that was done deliberately by my mother. She did that with the help of your bus driver. That thing scared me. Whenever I think of that 14-year-old Aldrich, I laugh at how foolish I was. But I can't even blame anyone, as I was a kid back then, without any support. He sniffed. From the age of 3, I used to sleep alone and was already dealing with dream anxiety disorder, and all those incidents increased my nightmares even more. I've been having the same nightmare since the day I left to study. In those dreams, I see you being tied to a chair, your skin burning, you crying for help, but I'm not able to save you." He blinked away the tears that were forming in his eyes. "The first night I dreamt this, I got so scared that I decided to stay away from you as much as possible and do as my mother was saying. I just wanted to see you for the last time, so I visited you, and the same day I promised to meet you first when I return." He blinked and looked away. "Then those years of my life started, which I hate the most. I was alone for 10 years. No one cared for me. There was no one to console me at night. I used to fight with nightmares all alone. Peter was there, but his branch of study and rooms were different. He used to stay with me when he was free. Other times I was alone. I couldn't make any friends because of the anger issues. No one wanted to come near me. My roommates used to mock me for the way I started screaming at midnight. No one was there to understand me. Although I was fighting with the nightmares alone back at home too, because my parents were too busy making money to give any heed to their son. Yet I was happy with one thought, that in the morning I would get to see you. Your presence was enough for me to forget all my pain, but that happiness of mine was also snatched from me." He sniffed. His nose became runny and his eyes moist. It is easy for people to say, "Be a man, be strong, you are scared of childish and meaningless dreams." But it was very difficult for me to come out of those dreams, because according to me, that dream was putting your life in danger. With the fear of having that nightmare again, most of the time I used to stay awake and study the whole night. He paused. During vacations, children used to come back home, but I used to stay there only, because once I came back, and they were the most toxic days of my life. My mother was controlling my life, my every step in every possible way. I started hating my mother and decided to stay away from her as much as possible. He sighed. "People say that I am born with a silver spoon, and I am the luckiest kid, but little did they know that I was the unluckiest one. Despite being the only child of my parents, I never got the love I deserved, and I think most lucky kids are the ones who get loved by their parents, but they don't respect that love." He took a sharp breath. "After the end of 10 years, when I returned, I was welcomed by my so-called mother. She asked the maids to prepare all the dishes that I liked, but she didn't know that I had changed completely. I was no longer the Richie that left this country. The situation, loneliness, and tough life lessons taught me a lot of things. The only thing that didn't change was my nightmares. No matter how tough I became from the outside, I still had that fear of losing my most precious thing." He looked at Sienna. Her eyes became a little moist. All these years he had a fear, and that too of losing her. "When I came back, I decided to meet you. I went to the place where you used to live, but you were not there. I used all my sources to know about you, as my father was not in the city at that time, and when I came to know about you, my mother again threatened me. I took her warning lightly, and the day I was coming to meet you, your mother met with an accident," he said. "They were returning from the market when a car hit Sienna's mother. She died on the spot." Sienna never wanted to rewind that day, as her mother took her last breath in front of her. "I don't know if that incident was planned or actually an accident, or was it for you or your mother. The only thing I know is that I got scared. I thought it happened just because of me." His chin quivered slightly. He chewed his lips to control his emotions. "But as far as I know, it was an accident and the driver also got their punishment. I decided to stay away from you because that was the only way to keep you safe. As I was growing my business, my enemies were also increasing, and I thought that if they came to know you were my weakness, then they would hurt you. And the person who wanted to hurt you the most was my mother. So I kept my distance from you, but my eyes were still on you. I was well aware of your every move, everything you were doing." Sienna's eyes became wide. He had been stalking her all these years, and she didn't even know. "And he is telling me as if this is a very normal thing," she thought. "I indulged myself in my business, focused on it even more. I thought that when I had money and luxurious things, I wouldn't crave for anything, and the people who ran away from me my whole life would come begging me. And this even happened, but what didn't happen was that I still felt empty and alone. I kept on sleeping with girls because after sex, I used to become so tired that I didn't have nightmares, and that was one of the ways to forget you too. So I made this my life, earning money by day to keep my mind distracted, and having sex at night to get peaceful sleep. He exhaled sharply. When Dad told me he wanted me to marry you, I straightforwardly declined his offer. At that time, I had become habitual of living without you. I didn't want you to come into my life again because I knew my mother would never accept you. But when my father told me he would transfer his wealth to the trust if I didn't marry you, I got ready. I got ready because at that time, I was actually crazy about money. All I wanted was money, money, and money. My mother was on a world tour, and I knew she wouldn't return in a year. That's why I signed a contract marriage of 1 year with you and kept our marriage private. But because of the photographs, she came to know about our wedding and she returned early. He huffed, and today's incident has shaken me again. He looked down, fiddling with his fingers. I never tell this weakness of mine to anyone, because I know people will think of me as weak, but they will never understand my situation. It is easy for people to say without going through the same. They only judge others for their weakness, completely forgetting the fact that they themselves are not perfect. He paused before adding, "It's not like I haven't met doctors or counselors, but nothing has ever worked." He looked up. "But the day you entered my life and started sleeping with me, no matter if we had sex or not, I never had a nightmare. No medicine has worked the way your presence did," he confessed. His eyes held honesty. Sienna stood up and walked to him. He was looking down, ashamed to meet her gaze. She moved his hands away and sat on his lap, taking his face in between her palms. "I have always accepted you for the way you are, and I promise I will never judge you based on worldly laws. Although our habits, thinking, and ways of living are completely different from each other, yet I am here for you. Forever. It doesn't matter whether we are in a relationship or not," she assured him. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulled her closer, and placed his forehead on hers. They kept on staring into each other's eyes. "I want to become your strength, not weakness," she told him. "You're my strength too." He murmured against her lips before kissing them once.